Inspired by real accounts, based on truth, twisted by what could be. I always loved trains. There's something romantic about them. The steady rhythm, the ever-changing landscape, the quiet illusion of safety. So when my girlfriend Rachel and I booked a vacation ride through the Rockies, I was so excited. It was one of those luxury scenic trains, glass dome ceilings, chef-prepared meals, panoramic views, supposedly unforgettable. It was. Just not in the way I'd hoped. The train had 9 passenger cars. We were assigned seats in carriage 6. Everything was smooth at first. Mountains rolled by like paintings. The food was perfect. Everyone was friendly. But it wasn't long before something felt off. On the second evening, we passed a town that wasn't on the itinerary. A decayed, rusted cluster of buildings half buried in fog. I asked a staff member about it. He looked confused. There's no town out there. Closest settlement is 80 miles back. I didn't push. Maybe I saw something old, abandoned. Still, it lingered. That night, Rachel had a few drinks and turned in early. I couldn't sleep, so I wandered the train. Most of the passengers were already in bed. I passed through the lounge car, then carriage 5, all dark, quiet. Then I saw a door I hadn't noticed before. It was a narrow metal door between car 5 and 6, unmarked, industrial. Not part of the design. It had no handle, just a keypad. I'd stood there, staring at it for a while. That's when an old man came out of the bathroom behind me. I hadn't even heard him approach. "Don't mess with that," he said, voice low and hoarse. "Not unless you want to end up like them." Like who? He didn't answer. He gave a hollow smile and went back to his car. I told Rachel in the morning. She laughed it off. Assumed I'd had a bad dream or had too many glasses of wine. But that door bothered me. I asked one of the train attendants about it at breakfast. "There's no keypad door on this train," she said with a strained smile. "You might be confused. Some of the service panels look similar." But I wasn't confused. That night I went back. I waited until things were quiet again, then slipped through the cars, and there it was, just like before. Same keypad, same blank metal face. But this time it was open. A sliver of light spilled out from the crack in the door, low and flickering, like candlelight. I know I should have walked away, but I didn't. I slipped inside. It was a narrow corridor, cold metal walls. The light came from old sconces mounted crookedly like they were stolen from some Victorian home. The air smelled like mildew and iron. Then I heard it, crying, a soft, rhythmic weeping, childlike, hollow. I should have turned around, but I kept going. The corridor opened into a single-passenger car. Unlike anything else on the train, this one looked ancient. The seats were cracked leather, the windows were boarded over from the inside, and every single seat was occupied. I mean, literally. Every seat held a person. But they weren't moving. At first I thought they were mannequins, part of a display, but then I noticed the breathing, shallow, barely there. They were alive, dozens of them. Some stared blankly ahead. Others wept quietly. One woman sat rocking with her arms wrapped around nothing, whispering something over and over in German. I stepped closer to one man slumped forward. His mouth hung open like he'd been screaming when it happened. That's when I saw his fingernails. Bloody, torn, some missing completely, like he'd been clawing at something or trying to get out. I backed away. One of the passengers, an old woman with her head twisted at an unnatural angle, turned and looked right at me. Her lips moved, but her voice came out from behind me. "You don't belong here." I turned and ran. The lights flickered. I could hear movement behind me. I slammed through the corridor and back into the real train. The door sealed behind me with a heavy clunk. I never found that door again. I searched the next morning, went through every car, counted every panel. It was gone. I told Rachel. She started to believe me when I showed her the scratch marks on my arm. 3 deep lines I hadn't had the night before. She wanted to leave the train at the next stop, but we never made it to the next stop. That night, the train slowed. Then it stopped completely. The conductor came on to the intercom and said there had been a delay up ahead, a small derailment, nothing serious. But hours passed. Then the lights went out. Rachel gripped my hand tightly. A staff member came by with flashlights, saying everything was fine, mechanical failure would be resolved shortly. But the moment he walked away, I saw his reflection in the window. It wasn't the same. In the glass, his face was gone, just a gaping black smear where his features should have been. I blinked. It was normal again. I didn't sleep that night. When the train finally moved again, it was morning, or at least it looked like morning. The landscape outside didn't match anything on our itinerary. It was endless. Charred forest, miles of blackened hills, no wildlife, no signs of people. The other passengers didn't seem to notice. I kept asking Rachel if she saw what I saw, and her answers got slower, more vague. Then one night, she didn't respond at all. I shook her. Nothing. She just stared at the window, lips moving silently. I looked outside. There was no reflection of the train, just the darkness. It's been 3 days now, or 4. I've lost track. The train hasn't stopped since. I walk the cars and recognize fewer faces. People I saw at dinner 2 nights ago are gone. One car now has a curtain over the door. I can hear faint murmurs behind it. I think it's Carriage 313, the one I wasn't supposed to find. I don't know where this train is going anymore, but I know what happens to people who ride too long. They forget. They rot from inside out. Their eyes dull. Their mouths stop working. They don't scream. They just exist. Rachel doesn't speak anymore, but sometimes at night, I hear her whisper something to the window. And once, I swear I saw her reflection smile, even though she wasn't smiling. Author's note. While fictionalized, this story was inspired by accounts of ghost trains, such as the Silverpilen in Stockholm, an abandoned subway train rumored to appear to those near death, and historical reports of sealed-off train cars used during war and relocation. Vacations offer escape, but some journeys were never meant to return.
My commute is simple. I catch the 6:12 a.m. train from Maple Ridge Station into the city every weekday. Same seat, same car, same sleepy faces. It's all so routine that I don't even think anymore. Until that Thursday morning when everything shifted. I was running late, just by a minute or two, but enough to miss my usual car. I had to board the next one over, car 4. It looked identical to the others. Fluorescent lights, humming above, gray vinyl seats, a faint smell of coffee and damp wool. But from the moment I stepped in, something felt off. There weren't many passengers, a man in a suit asleep with his head tilted too far back, a woman staring blankly out the window, and a teenager tapping obsessively on his phone, eyes wide with the glow. The car was unusually quiet. Even the rattle of the tracks felt muffled, like we were riding through thick fog. I sat near the back. The lights flickered once as we pulled away from the station. At first, I chalked up the unease to lack of sleep. I pulled out my phone and scrolled mindlessly, trying to shake it. But something drew my eyes to the reflection in the window. I could see the car behind me in the glass, except there wasn't one, just darkness. That's impossible. The train always has 6 cars. I turned around. Through the small glass door on the back, I saw nothing, just blackness, no tracks, no horizon, no light, just void. I blinked hard, looked again, still nothing. Trying not to panic, I told myself maybe there was an issue with the lights. Maybe we're going through a tunnel I hadn't noticed. But we weren't underground. We never go underground until after Station 3, and we'd only passed 1. I stood up and walked slowly down the aisle, telling myself I'd just go ask the conductor. Something to make this morning feel normal again. But as I reached the front of the car 4, I realized the door was jammed. Wouldn't slide open. I pressed the emergency button beside it. No response. That's when I noticed something else. The people. They hadn't moved. Not once. The man in the suit still sat with his mouth open, eyes fluttering like he was dreaming. The woman still stared, unmoving, at the black outside. And the teen's fingers tapped his phone in an identical rhythm, over and over, exactly the same. A loop. I whispered, "Hey," to the woman by the window. She didn't flinch. I stepped closer, then gently touched her shoulder. Ice cold. She didn't blink, didn't breathe. That's when the lights went out. For a second, I was frozen in blackness, heart hammering. Then red emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in a pulsing crimson hue. And the door at the back of the car, the one that showed only darkness, was open. Something stood there. No details, just a tall, motionless shape silhouetted in red. It didn't move, didn't speak. It just was, like it had always been there. Then the lights flickered again, and it was closer. I backed up so fast I nearly tripped over a seat. The lights stuttered. Closer. It was halfway down the aisle now. Still no sound, no breathing, no footsteps. I looked to the other passengers, still frozen, still unmoving. I yelled, screamed for someone to help. I even shook the sleeping man in the suit, his body tipped over like a mannequin, rigid. The figure was 2 rows away now. I bolted to the front door again and slammed the emergency button with my palm. I pounded on the glass, desperate. Behind me, I heard nothing, just silence, but I felt it. The pressure, like someone towering just over my shoulder. And then, the front door slid open. I stumbled into car 3, breathless, but it wasn't any better. This car was empty. No people, no bags, not even litter. Just rows of seats and the humming overhead lights. No motion through the windows, no landscape, still black. I ran forward, through car 2 and then into car 1. Same thing, no one. Each car a hollow, sterile shell. When I reached the conductor's door, I banged on it. No response. I forced it open. There was no conductor, no controls, just a flat wall painted black. No buttons, no gauges, no windows, as if the front of the train didn't exist. I turned and looked back. The red lights were pulsing in car 4 now, visible all the way from where I stood. And that thing was still coming. I sprinted back, trying door after door, searching for anything, an exit, a latch, a trap door. There was nothing. The world outside was still gone, just a reflection of the car interior in the dark glass. Then I saw it. My own reflection. I hadn't noticed before, but now it was unmistakable. It didn't match my movements. I raised my hand, the reflection didn't. I turned to left, it turned right, late. Then it smiled. I didn't. It was watching me. I stumbled away from the window and curled into a seat, covering my eyes, ears clenched shut. I don't know how long I stayed there. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in car 5, my car. Morning sunlight streamed through the windows. Commuters stood in the aisles, adjusting bags, sipping coffee, yawning. A man sneezed, a baby cried. The train pulled into Station 6, right on schedule. I looked around. The woman from car 4 wasn't there. Neither was the teen, nor the suited man. I asked a woman across from me if she'd seen them. She frowned. There's only ever been 5 cars. I stepped off the train on shaky legs, trying to convince myself it was a dream, a breakdown, a moment of madness. But as I walked down the platform, a conductor passed me. "Hey," I said, grabbing his arm, "was there a car 4 this morning?" He gave me a strange look. "All our trains are 4-car sets." My stomach dropped. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "Been that way since the cutbacks last year." That's when I knew. Car 4 didn't exist. At least, not for everyone. But sometimes, if you're a minute late or not paying attention, or you break a routine, it finds you. And if you're not careful, it won't let you leave.
It was a red-eye train from Chicago to Denver, an overnight ride, nothing special. I booked it last minute after a work trip ended early. I was tired and didn't feel like flying. Trains are quieter, easier on the nerves. I was in car 7, a sleeping car. The hallway was narrow, lined with cabins. I had a private room, just a bunk, a sink, and a curtain for privacy. There were no windows, just a faded emergency map bolted to the wall. It felt like being in a rolling coffin. Still, I liked it. It was nearly empty. The only other person I saw was an older man in a dark pea coat. He had cabin 7C. I was 7F. He didn't speak, just nodded once as he entered his room and slid the door shut. Around midnight, I drifted off. The motion of the train lulled me into a shallow sleep. At some point in the night, I woke up. Not to a sound, to silence. No train rumble, no vibration, just a strange, weightless quiet. I opened the curtain. The hallway was dark, only lit by a dull red emergency bulb near the ceiling. The train had stopped. No announcement, no conductor, no reason. I stepped barefoot into the corridor, half asleep, trying to peer out the back window in the door at the end of the car. But it was pitch black outside, so dark I couldn't even tell if there was a landscape or tunnel. Then I noticed something strange. There were too many cabins. I counted them, 12. There had only been 6 before. I walked to the end of the hallway again, still 12. When I turned around, the entire hall was different. The carpet had changed, now dull brown and sticky. The emergency map was gone, and the doors were all wrong. They didn't have numbers anymore, they had names. I stepped closer to one. Marcus, stay inside. The next, Ella, do not wake. And another, you, stay very still. That one made my stomach drop. I looked behind me, nothing. Then a soft noise came from one of the cabins, a rustling, something dragging. I backed away. My breath caught in my throat when I saw the door marked cabin 7F again. But this time the nameplate read, Dead Man. I ran back to my room, except my room wasn't there. None of the names matched mine anymore, and as I tried door after door, none of them opened. Then I heard it. Something was moving in the corridor, far end. A shuffle, slow, wet, deliberate steps. I ducked into the last cabin with an unlocked door and slammed it shut. The inside was freezing. The walls were damp. No bed, just a bench and a small rectangular mirror mounted crookedly on the wall. I turned to look out through the sliver of glass in the door. There was a figure in the hall. Not walking, crawling. Pale skin, elongated arms, fingernails scraping along the metal floor, its jaw unhinged, too wide. And in the flicker of the red light, I saw it stop outside each cabin, placing its hand on the door as if feeling who was inside. I backed into the far corner of the cabin and held my breath. It paused outside mine. Then it smiled. Somehow I knew it could smell me. It pressed its face to the glass. Then the door handle twitched. I screamed. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was lying in my bunk. Daylight was bleeding in through the curtain. I scrambled out into the hallway. It was back to normal. 6 cabins. My door said 7F. No names, no blood, no creature. Just sunlight through the windows at the end of the car. Had I dreamed it? I tried to laugh it off. Maybe sleep paralysis? Maybe bad train sushi? Then I saw the old man in the peacoat standing at the end of the hall. He was staring at me. His voice was raspy. "You left your cabin." I blinked. "What?" He shook his head slowly. "They mark the ones who move." I took a step back. He held up his arm. There was something carved into his skin. A name. Mine. Cody. Not safe. I got off the train at the next stop and never looked back. I drive now, no matter how far, because sometimes when I dream, I hear the rumble of the tracks and feel the door handle twitch.